This is the Dynamics 365 podcast, focusing on the ingredients of a successful Dynamics 365 practice. Your host is Business Solution MVP Mark Smith, otherwise known as the NZ365 Guy. For more information on this interview, show notes, feedback, and resources mentioned, or to suggest a guest for future episodes, please go to nz365guy.com/podcast. Thanks to Kingsway Soft for sponsoring the Dynamics 365 podcast. Kingsway Soft is a leading integration solution provider offering software solutions that make data integration affordable and painlessly easy. Thousands of enterprise clients from over 70 countries and regions rely on Kingsway Soft to integrate their data with various business systems in order to drive their business efficiency and fully leverage their information assets. Kingsway Soft is a leading provider of Microsoft Dynamics integration software, including Dynamics 365, CRM, AX, NAV, GB, SL, as well as many other applications. Check out their fall 2017 release that includes multi-threading and audit log deletion. Hi everyone, I'm here with Marica, Söderstam, and in this episode we're going to be focusing on product development on Dynamics 365. Marica has a background in business and IT from Stockholm University. For the last 5 years, she's worked with Dynamics customer engagement, including testing, deploying, and being responsible for business requirements and designing the solution based on customer needs. She is a product owner and main solution architect of Infactor's product that is targeting trade unions and member organizations in Nordic countries. Marica, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Put up with Jonas Rapp. He's a new Dynamics business solution MVP, and for lunch, I was in Stockholm a few weeks ago, and he suggested you for the podcast. So how do you know Jonas?
Jonas works with me in the product development team here at the Infactor's main office here in Stockholm. And when I first met him, he was the technical lead at my first project here at Infactor, or previously Sinteros. And we've been working together ever since.
So he told me the following about you, and I'll quote. He said, Marica started as an intern during her education and just took on more and more tasks and proved to be a true superstar, doing an awesome job both down on the technical stuff from functionality, architectural perspective. When she was announced as the product owner of MMS, it was a very natural transition and she's doing a great job. Can you tell me a bit about your journey and how did you get into Dynamics and the path you've taken to get to where you are?
That was very nice of him to say those kind words. But I always wanted to work with the business and IT and to build the gap over so that you're approaching the business side rather than the IT part. And I think that Dynamics combines the two quite naturally since it's more business driven rather than the technologically driven when designing solutions. So it came quite naturally for me to sort of explore those paths. And that's why I searched for the Dynamics platform. So I began with the testing our solution when we were building MMS. And then I just continued to take on more and more stuff because I was more interested in how everything actually worked and became more technical than I was actually intended to be. But I liked it and I like to combine the two. And I think that's makes the best possible way of adapting Dynamics, basically.
Yeah, true. So tell me a bit about the last 5 years, from getting the job to you became tester and then got more involved in the architectural side. Has it been a quick transition in your mind or what's the journey been like?
For me, it's always been quite natural. I always wanted to, I always take things that are given to me or the possibility that people provide me with. So it's sort of, it came naturally. It was the biggest transition, I think, was when I went from being the deployment girl and in charge of how to build the solutions and everything to being the lead in one of the modules when we're implementing it at a customer project. And from that point, I became sort of the expert in the platform, which made it a natural transition for me to become the product owner when the position opened up.
I'm interested in the your role in product leadership in this area. So I understand that you're product owner of MMS. Can you tell me a bit about the product? What is MMS?
Yeah, sure. It's short for membership management system. So it's a dynamics-based solution that works both online and on-premise. That consists of different modules that are targeting key areas that support the trade unions and membership organizations in their work. So basically, it supports the staff in handling their memberships and their union representatives at the different levels of their union organization. And it supports both sending invoices of how much should the members pay, as well as receiving payments from the members. So it's a really broad product that targets all of the different aspects of working in a trade union, basically.
Right. So who are the typical people that actually day-to-day do their job in MMS?
Traditionally, it's the people who are working at like the customer support from the member point of view. So the members call in and ask questions about their membership and what rights do they have in relation to their current work situation, or if they have some questions that they think that the union can help them with. So that's our primary customer, but we also target to know statistics from a managerial point of view, where they want to know, okay, how many new members do we have? How many have exited? How can we attract more members and have more of an analytic point of view?
Right. So is there a portal associated with it that allow then the members to engage with their data, or is that all handled through the call center?
No, we usually create portals as well. And we want to offer both the union representatives to sort of be able to communicate with members at their workplaces, and also to the members to be able to update their information themselves and to inform if they've changed work site or if they have a new salary. And
okay, so you've talked about, so it's around membership management. You can do membership payments and receive payments. There's portals and there's a call center. What are the other key features in the product?
One other key aspect of our product is that we also have course and event management built into the product, or it's another module, so to say. Yeah, so they can offer or handle different courses and events for their members and have educations based and booking, and that's also possible through a portal. So they're able to book them on different courses and different activities.
Okay, so how many modules all up would you say across the system?
I think that we have around 6, I think. So we're targeting like the membership part, course and event, and sending invoices to the members, as well as if there's a conflict with the member between the trade unions and the employer, then you can have like a conflict between them, and then we have support to pay out like some kind of receipt to the members if they are affected by the conflict, basically. And then I think we have 2 more, but I don't really remember them right now.
Okay, no problem. So what are some of the challenges with your role?
One of the main challenges that I experience is to know exactly what is going on in the different customer implementations, because we have adaptions on top of my product, which makes that the customers are driven themselves by adding more functionality. And I'm trying to get a handle on what kind of implementations have we done in the different customer projects, and how can we as a product actually enhance and make sure that the product stays competitive, so that we don't only implement it in customer projects, but try to get it into the product so that more customers can actually use the functionality that we create.
So that's interesting, as in I've had a similar experience myself. So if I get this right, what you're saying is that on various customer sites, they start wanting individually more customizations done, and that affects how you control the original product development cycle. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, interesting. So how do you currently sell and market the product?
Currently, we license the different modules based on how many modules each of the customers want. and that license, continuous yearly license, is going into the product development, and we keep enhancing and make sure that the product is upgradable to the latest Dynamics platform, and create new functionality based on that license. And then in the selling point of view, we usually call around to or marketing, we usually call the different trade unions and membership organizations.
So can you tell me a bit about the success you've seen?
I've seen that it's been great that we had a product based on, because that really helps in the selling to the customers, that we have a lot of built-in functionality into the already existing MMS, which means that there's not that much of an upfront cost for all the customers on actually onboarding into the MMS family, so to say. And that actually helps a lot in communicating with the customers and make sure that they can gain the most out of it, as well as they see some kind of comfort in that there's a product development team that is in charge of making sure that it keeps accurate and keeps to the latest technology, and make sure that it actually works together with the latest and greatest of the Dynamics platform.
How do you future-proof your product when technology is always changing? So Microsoft is making changes constantly. How are you going about future-proofing what you're building now for what's coming?
We are trying to move to more and more towards no code, basically. So we've done a lot of developing and plugins and stuff like that in order to make sure that we give the customers the best possible experience, so that it's agile and really active. But we're now trying to sort of minimize the ones that we're actually developing ourselves and move more and more towards no code, and also trying to change most of our code to use more and more standard way of approaching stuff.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So that's interesting. So are you starting to use other of Microsoft's product sets like Flow and Power BI and Power Apps?
Yes, but one of our main challenges is that we have customers that are both on-premise and online, which means that from a customer point of view or from a product point of view, we have to be able to have a solution that works on both, which sort of limits some of our possibilities that we can use.
How do you make sure that you maintain a level of quality control through the life cycle of the product?
We have a great test team that makes sure that all the solutions that we create is backward compatible, and we also have a close cooperation between the customer solutions and ourselves in order to find those aspects early on. Without the customer projects, we couldn't be able to keep the level of quality that we want to. Otherwise, we would have been needed to be like 10 or 20 people in the product development team.
When it comes to roadmap planning, with any product in development, there's always a roadmap it's generally a lot longer than what's been built right now. So how do you go about creating and managing what goes into your roadmap?
I have forums where I discuss with both the customers directly and also with the lead of the different customers from our point of view, and trying to gain knowledge about where is the customer going, what are they planning to do in the coming year, in order to map that towards, okay, what can we support them from a technical point of view, from the platform? What does the platform need to do for them? And one big thing that we've had to adapt for is the GDPR that is coming now in May. So we had to do a lot of workshops with our customers because we didn't want to implement something that they weren't comfortable with, because it's still their product rather than mine. So I'm trying to manage the expectations from the customers so that they know at an early stage what they can expect from the product, basically.
Yeah. So that's interesting, the GDPR coming out. How much has that affected or driven your need to make changes to the system?
Quite a lot, since member or trade union information that you're a part of a trade union is classified information and counts as the most secure part. But It's been a huge work for us to make sure that we don't log anything that considered as personal data, going through all of our codes and all of our integrations to different systems and seeing what kind of data do we send. But most of the work is done from the customers and our customer implementations, because they also need to make sure that they have the right processes.
Your product's built on the Dynamics 365 platform. How do you keep up with the changes that Microsoft release? How do you work that into your product roadmap and product planning?
We're trying to connect the different services and trying to analyze whether the new features that are coming in, for example, Azure or Dynamics 365, and how we can adapt them and modify them so they are actually valuable for the membership organizations. So we're trying to really utilize and test it before we're recommending all of our customers to use certain technology, basically.
Just back on the previous question where we just discussed GDPR, how ready do you feel the Dynamics platform is for that? And have you been able to meet the requirements within the platform? You haven't seen any constraints as such?
Both yes and no. I'm missing a lot of the functionality that is important. Like, it's difficult for us as a partner and as someone who's utilizing the platform. Like, for example, that you're able to audit when they're looking up a record in Dynamics read access. It's impossible for us to sort of create that functionality without doing massive coding and really drag down the performance of the system. So I feel like they have a lot of work to do in order for us to be able as a partner to utilize and make sure that all of the areas are covered. But we're trying to do the best that we can. And we're always monitoring when they are coming out with new information about what they're actually implementing in the product. So we've created a lot of functionality already. Because we have to do something. We can't just wait.
I remember some years back there was I was looking at a product for a government agency, and I can't think of its name right now, but I'll look it up and put it in the show notes. But it dealt with read audit specifically for Dynamics, but it only functioned in an on-premise environment. But I'll look that up, put it in the show notes so people can reference that if necessary. So tell me, what do you like most about Dynamics 365 as a platform?
I like that they're doing a lot on it. It's something that they're spending a lot of money on, and it's always adapting, and it creates a lot of possibility for you, not as a developer, to actually create a lot of good and great content. Yeah, that's basically what I love about the platform, and also that they're now focusing on sort of connecting the features that they've created in Azure and managing it to sort of connect it with Dynamics 365. It's a very nice platform to work with because it's easy to adapt and create your own solutions on top of it.
So what are the challenges you've found, though, then with Dynamics?
It's that they are constantly changing, making things deprecated and releasing something and then removing it again.
Can you give me an example of something that's been deprecated that you've really not want to go away?
I think that it's good that they are taking it away, but for example, dialogues, it has a good, I think that it's a good functionality and it serves a purpose. And I don't think that business process flows is really there yet in order to support that in that way.
No, that's a brilliant example. I think the concepts of dialogues, which have been around for some time, but were to some degree, let's say, clunky in the execution and their UI. I think that if there was some serious investment in there, it would be very complementary to business process flows.
Yeah, exactly. It's more guiding and helpful. And business process flow is a bit tricky to maintain.
It's that wizard type effect, right? That like, take this step, take this step, take this step, and you're done. Yeah, it was very nice about dialogues. What excites you most about the changes you're seeing coming from Microsoft? You've talked about integration to Azure and, the common data services, etc. What else excites you about it?
I'm really looking forward to spending more time with virtual entities and seeing how that can actually be part of the Dynamics platform, because we're working with huge amount of data in our system, which sort of drags down a lot of the performance because it keeps increasing. And also in an online environment, it starts costing a lot of money if you have a lot of data in it. So I'm really curious about if virtual entities is really that good as they explain. So I'm trying to plan up time to investigate it more, but that's one of the things that I'm most exciting about seeing coming forward.
So can you tell me a bit about the methodologies that you use for running a product development project like this?
I would like to call it we're trying to be as agile as possible and working Scrum-ish, because we're having approximately 2 to 3 releases per year, and but we're still working in 2 to 4 week sprints, and we're trying to actually do all the Scrum steps that is necessary in order to have a working Scrum team. But it's also we're trying a lot to be responsive because we're getting bugs or improvements from our customers all the time. So there's no need in sticking to a year-old issue that they added months ago instead of going on what they actually are requiring right now. So we're trying to be as agile as possible in order to actually support them in the best possible way and give the customers what they need right now rather than what they asked for years earlier. Can
you tell me some of the strengths that you're seeing from Agile over a waterfall approach? You've covered that it allows you the flexibility to change with the requirements and it's adaptable. What else?
I think it gives you the ability to give to get instant feedback from the customer projects. Because we don't want to develop something that was designed and then specified and then approved, and then we deliver something and it comes out that it's nothing that they wanted to have. And so that's why I think that Agile is a much better approach, especially in this ever-changing dynamics where you don't know if something is going to be there in the next release.
So can you walk me through a typical day or a week or a sprint, if you like? What does that look like from an Agile perspective?
We start each sprint with a quite long sprint planning session where we as the team and the relevant people who can actually decide upon the best possible solution for the focus of this sprint to be in one room and discussing how do we want to solve this? Does it require a lot of testing and big runs, for example, in order to make sure that the performance isn't decreased, and really analyzing and problematizing each of the issues that we're trying to handle within a sprint. And after that, we work for approximately 2 weeks, having daily stand-ups and adapting the sprint if something major is coming up from a customer point of view, and we're adding that to the sprint and adapting it as we go on. And then we stop the sprint by having a sprint review as well as a retrospective.
So is there anything else?
Yeah, and then during that time, I'm always trying to enhance my backlog and make sure that the issues that are coming into the next sprint has enough information for us to analyze and make something productive out of it. And demanding in a lot of more information from the customer projects, because usually they're giving me a little bit less than I would like to. So then you need to ask and gain more knowledge about what is it that they actually want.
How much does UX or the user experience, how much does that feature into your development?
It actually has a lot of focus at the moment. We're trying to create or help our users to actually be able to work in the best possible way with our product. So we're trying to actually have that as one of our main focus this far, because when we created the product was on Dynamics 2013, and then we upgraded it to 2016. And now we're actually taking it a bit further now when we're having 9.0 and they've actually improved on the UX in the platform. So we're trying to actually adapt it now and using more of what is coming with the platform. but they're trying to really think about the positions of the fields. But unfortunately, a lot of it is done in the customer projects as well. So all of the customers have different forms and different ways.
So you have a range of customers using MMS, and each of those customers may want MMS to do something a little different from another customer. So how do you manage that in the projects?
The product is designed to be configurable. So we have our own entities that can define that the plugins can use in order to say that, okay, if this happens, do this, or if this is the setting, then do that instead. So based on just changing sort of values in the configuration items, you can change a lot of how the product works, which means that there's not that much coding done at the customer project. It's more changing the different settings in the product and make sure that this is what the customer wants. But of course, they have implemented their own functionality that someone wants, for example, support for something that isn't in the product, then they are developing it towards our product. And we make sure that we know where they've added functionality so that we can make sure that we make it backward compatible if they are requiring us to be, basically.
So do you run the risk, though, then of having, if you like, you've got your product and its release cycle, and then you've got your products with, your customers that have your product plus their own stuff, and then you go and release a new version, and it must create a bit of work for you to make sure that backward compatibility, or it doesn't, break what they've added, or doesn't even stop you deploying your new changes into their system. How do you handle those challenges?
We've implemented that the customer projects are testing a lot on, so we're trying to have like a pre-release of this is the functionality that is going to be in the new MMS. Here, test it with your adaptations and your configurations, and then get back to us. And then we have our team standing by in order to fix those issues, because it's impossible for us to test all of the different configurations. I think we have more than 500 different sort of settings in the system that you can change in an easy way, but it's impossible for us to have that sort of data to support all of those configurations. So that's sort of how we're aiming, and then we're getting instant feedback for them, like, okay, this broke now, okay, why did that happen, and how can we actually minimize those effects in the future. We also have an architecture review board with all of the different projects that has the product, and they are able to take first-hand information, like, okay, we're going to implement this. This will probably make this not usable. Is there anyone using it? And okay, if they're using it, are they able to upgrade to the new version in order to be faster, have more performance, etc.? So we're trying to have a conversation with different projects and be very agile about it, because sometimes you need to do breaking changes in order to actually make it work. Like I said, it was developed in 2013 and a lot has happened since then. So it's impossible to be backward compatible in that way.
So tell me about bugs that customers report. How do you manage this? How do you triage them, that type of thing?
Yeah. I have my own sort of categorization of what classifies as an emergent bug or really high prioritized bug. And based on that sort of categorization, like how many customers do it affect? Is the system usable, basically? And then I take it in, I prioritize it, and then sometimes we release a patch. So I said before that we have 2 to 3 releases each year. And then during those releases, we're releasing patches of really emergent bugs that have come up in a later release or an earlier release. So that's basically how we try to do it. And a lot of help we get from the customer projects to help us identify exactly where it is. And sometimes they even give us like, okay, this is the place in the code where you need to fix. Because they're analyzing it. So then it's usually easier for them to sort of say, this is the error and fix it. And then we deliver the fix to them. Usually within quite short notice, but it takes quite a lot of power from the team to always jump on the critical bugs. But I think we managed it quite well.
So how do you keep coming up with innovative ideas? Where do they come from? Do they more comes from customer feedback? Is it coming from your architects, functional folks? Where do they come from? How do you continue to innovate?
It usually comes from the customers, at least from like the business point of view. Like, okay, we need this sort of functionality in order to reach these potential members, etc. And that gives a lot of it. And also, we try to evolve the product through the new features that comes in the platform and use them in a more creative and innovative way. But most of it comes from our developers and business consultants that are there and using it and reading something fun online and through Twitter or some new cool blog. And then they're coming, talking to me, and then we just plan it into a release in the future and trying to make sure that it's innovative in the best possible way. And I try to give as much creativity possibility to our team because I want them to have fun working with my product. I don't want them to feel like they're just handling a legacy system, basically.
So what has been the most effective process you've used for incorporating that feedback coming from your customers?
The most effective way of retaining the knowledge from the customers is actually to put all of the customers in one room, basically, and have them discuss it with themselves, between themselves, because they're still in the same area of expertise and they still have the same needs. And then they are together discussing, okay, I would like this. And then another customer noticed that, yeah, but that couldn't work because of this. And then they're together sort of developing their product. And I just there to sort of utilize and like, yeah, this works with the platform in this way and this could support it. Does this look good? And we're sort of developing it and skissing on it together, or developing it and making the architecture together with the customers. That's been the most efficient way to not doing something that they don't want.
Wow, that's brilliant. Getting them to be in the same room and, if you like, cross-pollinate each other with their questions and ideas, and you're able to glean those and turn those into your backlog, I assume.
Yeah, exactly. And we're really trying to be close to them because they are the ones who have the best knowledge about what they need. And we're trying to find a way to actually enhance the product that is actually supportive for most of my customers, because they are sort of different, all of them. And some of them uses some functionality and some uses other functionality. But together they are sort of creating the product in a way that is really wonderful to see. And that they, even though they are competitors, they're still sharing the same system. And together they can actually enhance the system without actually interfering with the competitive aspects.
So can we discuss a bit around communication? As you develop the product and you develop a certain way, can you tell me about your communication strategy? How do you get the various parties all on the same page?
Yeah, I'm trying to both. I do like personal visits to all of my different customers to sort of inform them, like, hi, this is me. This is what I plan for the product. What are your plans long term? And I also have internal forums where I present and discuss what I'm aiming with the product and informing everyone so that they know what are the goals, what are the aims of the product. Like, for example, for the 2018, we have different goals and objectives and focus areas where we're trying to enhance. And I'm trying to get as much feedback as possible from the different projects at an early stage, so that I don't do something that isn't aligned with my customers. And I try to meet my customers as much as possible, although I have limited time, so it's not possible for me to be everywhere. But I'm really trying to really target them and get to know them so that so they feel like they can trust my judgment in what I bring to the product, because in the end, it's their product. They're the ones using it.
So how do you manage customer expectations? And I'll give you an example. Oftentimes I'd find you'd launch a project the customers start to really understand, if you like, how powerful the Dynamics 365 platform is, that you can really create or build any type of business application out of it. And all of a sudden, the list of what they want it to do balloons out into, they want it to cook dinner, they want it to do everything. How do you manage their expectations and say, yeah, we can do it, but it doesn't mean we should do it, or it's not practical at this time? How do you manage that?
Yeah, I'm trying to manage it in a way that that's basically the best part about having the customers in one room, because some of them are like, yeah, I want this big ass cooking possibility in the system. And then another customer is like, what? That doesn't really support us. Why would we need that? So that really helps a lot in order to minimize the scope of what we're trying to implement in the product. And also, I always try to see it from their point of view. Like, yeah, you could use it that way, but what is the best possible way for you to actually support it? What is the real problem that you really want to solve? And then we sort of ask why and why, like 5 whys is a system that actually works. And then you really dig into the product. Then you really dig into the problem, and then you can actually define and develop something that actually solves what they want to be solved, and not just what they think would be awesome and brilliant.
So can you tell me a bit about the team that you have that actually build the product? How do you keep them motivated and innovating?
Yeah, I'm trying to give them the space that they want, so that they are able to test new ideas. But I sort of limit the time that they can test new ideas, because I don't want them to sort of run into an end with an idea and then like, oh no, it didn't work. And then they spent a lot of time on it. So I'm trying to yeah, that sounds awesome. Can you test it for one day and then get back to me with the results? Is it good? Is it valuable? Could we use it? In what way? And then I'm trying to keep a positive attitude towards new innovation. But the difficult part that we have to take into consideration is the backward compatibility that actually limits the way that you can be innovative. But I'm trying to actually improve my release notes and my communications about, okay, we're implementing this, but that will mean that this other feature will be deprecated, and trying to inform the customers at an early stage so that they have time to actually adapt to the new way of how things works. But yeah, that's basically how we have to handle that. So we're going towards some new cool function, then we need to deprecate something else. And the communication about what is not going to be anymore in the product needs to be really direct. And we need to really understand what's happening.
So can you tell me a bit about your build team structure for MMS? As in, what are the different roles that you have in your team, and how is that structure put together?
Right now we are a bit short on the team. We would need more employees in the team. But it's basically we have 2 testers whose main focus is on automatic testing and UI testing. And then we have 3 developers, where one is in charge of building and deployment of the different solutions, because we're running it on-prem and online. So we need to make sure that our deployment works to both of the different sort of scenarios, and automating that. And then we have Jonas, that is our MVP, and in charge of the technical point of view for the whole company. And he's also part of the team. And then we have me and another guy that is also a product owner, me for MMS and the other guy for the course and event management module. So we are together working to enhance both of our products in the same team, sort of. So we're sharing the resources for both of our products, where his product is also a module in mine. And then we have the head of product development that is in charge of the strategic and the money aspect of where are we going as a company.
How do you keep the team excited about the product? And if you're how do you keep your morale high when you're working on the same product year in, year out? How do you maintain their energy levels?
I'm trying to give them some treats sometimes, something new and innovative for them to try on. Like, okay, now we're implementing GDPR, and that's something completely new, support for consent, etc. And then I'm sort of giving them like, hi, how would you solve this? And what is your great ideas for how we can actually create the best possible solution for handling this? And then I just let them room free, and then we're asking a lot of questions like, okay, but how would this work? Will it work on this platform and in this scenario? How will we collect the consents, for example? So then they are the ones who actually design how everything should work. And I think that is actually giving them the possibility to actually improve something. So it's not just fixing bugs and doing small improvements, but it's rather to actually implement completely new functionality.
What are the key skills do you see that you need in a team that is building a product on Dynamics 365 over or different to, if you like, building, bespoke one-off systems for customers?
You need to really be aware of everything that you're doing. Like what kind of if I change here, what will it affect in the long run? So you need to really be aware of everything that you're doing. At the same time, I think that the skill set needs to be that you know the Dynamics platform and what it can do, and be really aware of everything that is coming. As soon as you upgrade, you want to actually utilize everything that is coming in the platform and not just doing it on your own and getting off easy by just developing a plugin because I've already done that. You need to really problemize and see, okay, could this be solved through a business rule, or can it be solved with a workflow? So you need to be an expert in the platform as well as creative in a way that, okay, how can we solve this in different sort of ways?
My last question before we get into some quickfire questions is around how do you manage the engagement back with Microsoft, as in from if you see there's fundamentally something wrong with the platform, or you think there's a new idea, who do you talk to back at Microsoft to get that information flowing back up to Microsoft?
Right now, I take the easy way out and talk to Jonas, who then takes it up to Microsoft. Otherwise, we're trying to use the different channels that we have. We have some people that are actually working quite closely with some people at Microsoft, and they were trying to go through them. So I'm trying to take it more internal rather than directly to Microsoft, because usually there's someone at the company that has really great ideas and already has thought of what I'm experienced. And usually Jonas is my go-to person, and then he knows exactly who to talk to.
Yeah, that's one of the benefits of having an MVP on the team. They're, exposed to the product team. They know who owns the various parts of the platform and probably who's going to give them the right answer, or the answer that's going to allow you to carry out whatever you need to do. So I've got some quick fire questions for you. What books do you recommend most to people, and why?
I would recommend Outliers and The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell, because I think that they're a very interesting read, and it gives you a lot of good knowledge on how to improve your business and yourself in order to reach people in the way that they want to be reached.
Excellent. Both great books. Very good books. I've read both of them and totally, I like Malcolm Gladwell as an author. Very good. What's your favorite app or apps that let's say commonly using on your phone or something like that, and why?
I use Todoist. In order to,
as in Microsoft's To Do?
No, it's another app that it's called Todoist.
Todoist.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'll look that up. Yep.
Yeah, but it's really good, and it keeps tracks of all my to-dos for today and upcoming weeks, and it's easy to reschedule tasks. If I won't manage it today, then I can just reschedule it. And it has an app for the computer and works in the browser, and it's great. And another app that I'm really using at the moment, I'm using Headspace for meditation. I could really recommend that app. It's really great.
I think I've just hit 30 days of continuous been using it myself, so yeah. I highly recommend it as well.
Yeah.
Do you have any daily rituals that you see or that set you on the right path for a successful day?
Yeah, I have Headspace. I do it every morning in order to really be able to endure during intensive periods at work and when something major is happening. And I try to fit in a high intensive exercise during the morning, because you don't know what's coming up in the later of the day. Like if you're not able to train during lunch or after work because something is happening privately or at work. So I'm trying to fit it in early in the morning so that I'm in charge of my own morning, basically.
What recommendations do you have for people wanting a career in Dynamics?
Focus on the business side and really stay curious about the new functionality, and really don't be hesitant in trying different sort of solutions. It's a great platform to work with and experiment in, and you don't need to be that technical in order to be a business consultant in a Dynamics practice.
If you could redo anything in your career, what would it be?
I don't believe in redoing or having regrets, because I think that everything that I've done this far has led me to where I'm at my career, and I really enjoy everything that I do right now. But I will keep developing my skills as an architecture in the Dynamics and Microsoft platform, because I think that in order to ensure that my product continues to be of high value, I really try to utilize the possibility throughout the Dynamics and Microsoft platforms through Azure functions, and not trying to limit myself through my understanding now that I have of the Dynamics platform, for example.
It's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Before you go, if people want to follow you online, where can they find you?
They can find me on Twitter or LinkedIn. It's my name, Marica Söderstam, and you can just search for me there.
This has been a Dynamics 365 podcast focusing on the ingredients of a successful Dynamics 365 practice. Your host was Business Solution MVP Mark Smith, otherwise known as NZ365 Guy. For more information on this interview, show notes, feedback, and resources mentioned, or if you know someone who would be a great guest for future episodes, please go to nz365guy.com/podcast.